Greetings, and today we're going to be working with variables, right? So variables, if someone asks you what variables are, just tell them they are for the computer to read, right? Variables are for the computer to read. They are not for humans to read. Say that again. Variables are for the computer to read, not for humans to read. Say it one more time. Variables are for the computer to read and not for humans to read. All right. So now you want to make a variable, no quotes, no hashtag symbols, and no spaces in between them. We're going to write them only with lowercase and underscore. Right? So we want to make a variable, right? Jenny equals 5. This is how we make a variable. We can set these variables equal to anything, right? That the variable is going to always go on the left side of the equal sign, and the right side we got ints, right? We could have strings, right? We could have a list. We could have a tuple. We could have a tuple here, and we could also go ahead and two, and so on. Okay, right? So when we make these variables, right? They could be anything. Okay, so you could have Jenny stars right? You can see how even though that the variable name is Jenny stars, right? If we go ahead and run this, my name is Brad Pitt. So we can already see that, hey, right? We can already see, hey, this is not for us to read. This is for the computer to read because this value could change at any time, right? You can go ahead later and say my Jenny stars is equal to my value is Angelina A. Jolie, or how you restart her name. If you go run this again, you see that the value changed, right? So the variables, they're not for us to read. They are for the computer to read. Okay, and right, so say for example, right, if you want to use a variable, right, when we want to use a variable, we just write it like this. Just the way that we declare the variables, the way that we use the variable. Okay, variables they can look like anything. It could look like this. They might not be a meaningful, but they could look something as meaningful as banana, right? But the meaning can fool you because this is apple. The variable does not decide what it's going to be. The variable is for the computer to read, and that's important. So if you don't remember anything from this video, just remember banana, important for the computer to read. Okay, and right, say for example, so we could have variables that look like this, right? Completeness. Okay, this is a variable where you can have a bunch of these. Stuff, right? Unless you see that in code, right? We wanna write lowercase letter variables and lowercase letters, underscores. And try not to use the dashes. Try not to use any other special character. Just lowercase and underscores. So say if you had a variable, right, and you wanted to use it, right? Right, and then we set a variable after, right? In order to use the variable, we have to set it first. This is going to give us an error. This is incorrect. So if there's something, if you get an error, you run this. If you look in your Python, you try to run this and you see name Jenny McSkyler is not defined. That means the variable, right? Jenny McSkyler is not defined. What we mean is that you have to make sure that before you use the variable, that you define the variable, right? You have to set it equal to something. You set it equal to value or string, and that will get to work. So anytime you see this error, name your variable name here is not defined, that means the variable is not defined. You're using the variable before you're defining it. And you have to find where in your code and you use the variable, and then you have to define it right before. All right. So I want you to do for this exercise, I want you to go ahead and make 5 variables just like this, right? Scroll down a bit. There's some code here. Okay, go ahead and make 5 variables. It could be a list, right? Strings, strings, dictionaries, anything, and move on to the next lesson once you're done.